Hello and welcome back to Ruben Uncut. Behold, season 4 in the year 2025. All right, welcome to season 4. We're going to start every season like we begin every season by me going through all the movies I saw in the previous year. That's 2024 for those of you who need to be reminded for whatever reason. I saw a lot of movies in 2024. In fact, I'm going to be reviewing slash ranking 42 one of these bitches. Which movie is first? What are we starting off with? Did you know that Chuck Norris had a movie that came out in 2024? Yeah, he did. It's called Agent Recon. And to call it a Chuck Norris movie would be um doing the movie a bunch of favors that its own marketing department would really like you to do, because Chuck Norris is not a big presence in this movie. In fact, I'll be honest with you, Agent Recon, even though it's got Chuck Norris right there in the dab smack middle of the poster, Agent Recon is largely a vanity project by writer director Derek Ting. Derek Derek Ting. Directing. Is that his real fucking name? I'm gonna have to look that up. But the point is that Agent Recon is written, directed, and starring one Derek Ting. Can't unhear it. I cannot unhear that. Which you can currently watch on Hulu. How bad is it? Well, it's pretty bad. The whole movie takes place in a scientific post-apocalyptic deal where the human race has been overrun by an alien invasion, where the aliens infest your liver with red ash that makes you one of them or something. I'm not sure. But Derek Ting is the main character, and he's apparently a human who has red ash in his liver, but somehow has not become an alien, but he does have all their superpowers. And so he goes on a mission after, and it's bad. It's bad. In fact, the thing that's interesting about Agent Recon is that at first glance it has just enough budget to give it the air of competence. But once you get into it, you're like, oh no, it's not. It's not competent. It's not competent at all. The big standout here would be is that it was an action movie where I actively spent the whole time going, okay, I know exactly how we could have made this action scene better. And that's not something that always happens to me when I'm watching a movie. But this is a movie where like they get close to good on a few action scenes, but like at the same time, it's like, nope, this is terrible editing. Why is it shot like this? Etc. 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 The special effects in the film appear to have been, one of those special effects packages you can buy off of Facebook if you've seen those ads before. And Chuck Norris. What's the deal with Chuck Norris in this movie? Well, Chuck Norris is like 80 years old, and he spends most of the movie as a stock still image. And by that I do mean just a still picture of him on a desk. To be clear, I don't mean like there's a picture of him in the movie. I mean that like for most of the movie, Chuck Norris is a robot sitting on a table who has not been turned on. And at numerous points when the camera just focuses on him, it's very clear that instead of filming Chuck Norris sitting still, they have taken a still image of Chuck Norris sitting there. Whether this is because Chuck Norris at his increased age is not capable of remaining motionless is a good question. There is one action sequence that features Chuck Norris, and it's not great. He spends most of it shooting a chain gun. And he doesn't. I don't think he roundhouse kicked a single person. probably because he's too old. Now, don't get me wrong, Chuck Norris looks great for his age, but one gets the impression that he is no longer at fighting age. Agent Recon is easily the worst movie I saw this year. And it gradually gets worse as it goes along until it finally dips into some sci-fi stuff that it just doesn't have the budget for, where Chuck Norris and Derek Ting appear in front of a green screen, actually not much better than the one behind me. And this is zero budget, people. I do not have a budget. This still looks better than the final Chuck Norris's final moments in the movie. But the whole thing is just a vanity project by this guy named Derek Ting. I can't unhear it. I can't. Whatever. Comment below if you would like me to do a deep dive into the other films of Derek Ting. Derek Ting. Jesus. Number 41. It's Borderlands. It's fucking Borderlands. Oh my God. I almost did a full video for Borderlands just so I could prove to people that I'm not just a contrarian. Borderlands is bad. What is there really to say about Borderlands? Is that Borderlands is bad. It's the type of movie where the whole time you're watching it, you're like, okay, I can see what they're going for here. As you proceed to watch it not successfully land the thing that it's going for. And that's like the whole movie. The whole movie's like that. It's just stuff like that. Oh, it's going to be like Guardians of the Galaxy. If Guardians of the Galaxy had no real character development, if it starts uncomfortably weirdly, like both these two movies that I'm talking to you about have opening sequences that I couldn't help but feel are like ham-fisted and bad, and that both movies could have started differently and had the information more compellingly conveyed to the audience. Both Agent Recon and Borderlands have an opening like this, and it's not good. Borderlands barely gives any of its characters any real character development or chemistry. Cate Blanchett is a talented actor, and, actually most of the people in Borderlands are talented, but you'd never guess from this, because the only one that sounds like they're having any fun is Jack Black, which might be because Jack Black filmed all of his lines in a sound recording room, far away from whatever the hell was actually going on set. And you got Tiny Tina, who it feels like she's supposed to be a cross between Harley Quinn and Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a real bunch of nothing. It's also got some of the worst CGI of the year, made incredibly worse by the fact that the entire movie takes place during broad daylight in an open desert that is fully CGI. The CGI occasionally looks believable, and then a real person steps in front of it, and you're like, oh no, it's a fucking cartoon, except without, looking enough like a cartoon to feel like it's on fucking purpose. Seriously, they should have just rotoscoped this whole movie. They should have rotoscoped Borderlands, because then at least it would have looked like the fucking video game, and that would have been something. And maybe then audiences wouldn't have noticed that, like, for whatever reason, two of your lead female characters are like 40 years older than their characters in the video game. It's weird. Tiny Tina is still 13, but the Siren and Tannis are now in their like 50s or 60s. Don't know what's up with that. Krieg, I love the character's name Krieg, but I don't care for him. It's clear that they're trying to go for something with him that would make him akin to like a Drax or a Groot or someone else. I don't know. The major thing that Borderlands does is it makes Suicide Squad a known Franken film to appear both more watchable and entertaining. Yes, that's right. Borderlands makes Suicide Squad, the one by David Ayer. Okay, in fairness, the theatrical cut of Suicide Squad looked competent by comparison. At least all those characters were interesting and sort of matched on to their comic book characters in some way. But that's enough Borderlands. Let's get to possibly my most shocking movie that I absolutely hated. Twisters. I hated this movie. And I hate this movie the more I think about it. Why? Because it's a movie about tornadoes that's fucking boring. It's fucking boring. The entire thing. No one of any note dies. It has no connection to the original movie whatsoever. The characters come this close to interesting but don't land it. I have to sit through Glenn Powell being a fucking pain, being fucking annoying the entire movie. Actually, I'm going to say this. I hear good things about Glenn Powell, but but the only good movie I've ever seen Glenn Powell in is The Dark Knight Rises, where he gets his head slammed into a desk by Bane. Watching him in Twisters is painful because the movie sets it up to try and make you not like him because it's through and do this twist where the corporate guys are the bad guys. Ooh, and this ragtag group of somehow a cross between hillbillies and alternative punk chicks is gonna be the heroes. Ooh. Then it sucks. It sucks so bad. None of the characters are interesting. There's like 3 characters that matter, and everyone else is just set dressing. And unfortunately, one of those characters it wants us to care about is Glenn Powell. In a film that feels like it has an unspoken romantic triangle that it sucks. It sucks so bad. I hate this movie. I hated Twisters. I found it tedious. Tedious. It's a movie where a flaming tornado tears through a factory. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, like, at no point do I give a shit. There's no tension. It's just character stuff I don't care about, followed by tornadoes that happen. And like the thing is, it's not like tornadoes. There's like one moment where a tornado catches them by surprise, and it results in a sequence that I could best describe as I don't give a shit. Like literally, it's the only time where the film actively kills characters on screen that we see, and none of them are anyone that we could ever possibly begin to care about. They're literally characters that were introduced right now to die in this tornado. Just terrible. It blows my mind that so many people were into this movie, but maybe it doesn't. People are trash, and this movie is terrible. Is it more competently made than the last 2 movies I mentioned? Sure, but it doesn't make it good. Number 39. If you saw my comic book movie rankings, then you already saw me talk about this movie, and this movie is here. I got out most of what I wanted to say about the movie here in my comic book ranking video. And I don't know if I have much more to say about it here. Here, no pun intended, is I want to like it for a number of reasons, but at the end of the day, it's just telling a story that I don't care about. It emphasizes the least interesting and most depressing plot thread of all the plots it has going on. I'm sorry, Tom Hanks, but like this, maybe this is just a movie for boomers where boomer trauma is put front and center. By the way, boomers, I'm so glad to hear that the worst thing that ever happened to you is that we were born. Number 38. Made a whole video about this one. Don't really know if there's much to talk about. I have been told that young people actually enjoy this, and that maybe I just hate it because I'm old and cynical. There are a few directing choices that I do heavily criticize about this film, and I think the twist is obvious. I also found this movie to be incredibly less funny than you would expect to be considering how many comedians are in this fucking movie. Number 37. It Ends With Us. I don't really know what to say about It Ends With Us. I'm clearly not the target audience. And for most of the film, I was like, this feels like a Hallmark movie if Hallmark movies were sad, which I guess is a Lifetime movie. But I will say that I really liked the ending. Oh, wait, what? The movie keeps going after that moment? But we agree that should be the ending of the movie. Yeah, no, I also think that it was good enough to imply that she would get back together with that guy. We didn't need to see it happen afterwards. Yeah, the moment. Yeah, of course it should have ended on the moment where she uses her daughter to explain to that guy why she's not getting back together with him. That moment was powerful, and it's the whole reason that I could actually see some merit in It Ends With Us. That being said, the film is not for me, and it should have ended on its most powerful moment instead of dragging it out past that moment. Number
36.
Madam Web. Already talked about this in the comic book one. Already talked about this in the full length Madam Web review. I give it major what the fuck points, but besides that, it's just it is the second worst comic book movie I saw this year, and it is technically the worst one with superheroes in it.
35.
The Garfield movie. I don't even. It's the fucking Garfield movie. Like, there's no real point critiquing the Garfield movie. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's just the Garfield movie, and it does that. It manages to be a Garfield movie, and it has all the value of a Garfield movie. Number
34.
Now we're entering into the, by the way, with the transition of Garfield, we are now leaving behind the absolute crap and now moving into mediocre films. Number
34.
Beetlejuice. I won't lie, I was entertained by the film. I was never bored. I thought some parts of it were funny. But let's be honest for a minute. This movie's script is just the most half-assed bunch of bullshit I've ever seen. Like Beetlejuice's script, just like it's like at some point they were like, oh wow, we've got too much stuff going on. What if we just start resolving these threads? Okay, will they be resolved by character actions or meaningful plot developments? No, I think they're just gonna get resolved. Like how? Well, I think for one, then Beetlejuice will just use his powers, and then we won't have to worry about that character anymore. And then at the very climax of the film, everything will just sort of work out based on whose actions. Does it matter? Who gives a shit? Beetlejuice is just a sloppy, predictable thing. It's never boring, but it is sloppy. Like, it is the sloppiest sloppy Joe of movies. In fact, arguably, it might actually be sloppier, at least in terms of writing, than some of these other movies I've already talked about. But it was more entertaining than those movies.
Number 33.
Roadhouse, the remake. Please check out my Roadhouse video where I compare the new movie to the old movie and why the old movie is superior. That tells you everything you need to know. The new movie just kind of misses the point of the previous movie. And it takes the best thing about the first movie and completely fails to capitalize on it and just sort of does its own thing. I will say that the Florida Keys is a cool location and that the fight scenes benefit from modern fight technology and choreography. But in every other way, the original movie is better. Kung Fu Panda 4 is Kung Fu Panda 4. It was fine. It just sort of, it's fine. It's whatever. I don't care about Kung Fu Panda 4. Number
31.
Red One. Red One is a movie that is not incredible, but I will say I felt like critics went after Red One with a little bit too much vigor. They were all too ready to slam what is essentially a Christmas movie. And also not the worst Christmas movie I've ever seen. Red One is essentially a buddy cop Christmas movie starring The Rock and Chris Evans. It is entertaining empty-headedness at its peak. It is what it is. You will get as much Christmas out of it as you want, whether that be a lot or a little. Its action scenes are fine for a film that will mostly be watched by children.
Number 30.
Mean Girls. Honestly, fun time. It's a solid movie, just not as funny as the original. Now we're moving into, well, no, I guess we're still in the mediocre to slightly above mediocre phase of this list. Mean Girls is, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Just thought it just didn't have the same impact as the original film on me. And the original film has more jokes. Because it turns out in a movie that's full of jokes, the thing you need to remove to make room for the songs is jokes. Funny how that works out. Number
29.
Argyle. A lot of people really hated this movie. I thought there were a lot worse movies than Argyle. I thought Argyle was entertaining primarily throughout, just a fun, light film. There are some things worth noting about Argyle, though, in that regard. First of all, it's got great action scenes, although there is one action scene that is definitely ripping off the transporter and also doesn't make physical sense. I'm sorry, you couldn't ice skate with knives on your shoes through oil. That's not how surface tension works. But the thing that really brings Argyle down is the last, minute and a half of the film. It has easily the worst last minute and a half of any movie I've ever seen. It's going fine. It's cheap, easy, disposable, lighthearted entertainment. And then that ending happens and you're like, wait, then what the fuck was going on if that's happening? Yeah, no, it's terrible. The last minute and a half is terrible. Rest of the film, fine. That last minute and a half, terrible. Also, this movie almost got into my comic book film rankings because there's an after credit scene that ties this movie to the Kingsman films, which would technically make it a comic book movie. And I just did not feel like dealing with that. Number
28.
Fly Me to the Moon. Honestly, it was an entertaining little rom-com that lost a lot of its appeal when I found out that none of the people or events were true. That being said, as amusing as I find the comedic conceit of this film to be, I also think that, it also feels like a vaguely irresponsible storyline to put into the minds of conspiracy theorists. But it is what it is. Number
27.
Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. Yeah, you want to see monsters punch each other in the face? It's a good time. Is there anything else to say about it? I briefly reviewed this in my April movie roundup. I mean, I just said the sentence, Do you want to see monsters punch each other in the face? If the answer is yes, then, that's what this film is. Do I have anything else to give to it? No. No, that's it. Number
26.
I also reviewed this film in a little bit further length. It's Boy Kills World. What is there to say about Boy Kills World? Unfortunately, not a lot. But it does have awesome martial arts fight scenes, which really bring this movie up. In fact, two things elevate this film. It's got a good cast, and it's got some really, really good martial arts fight scenes. In fact, arguably, it has better martial arts fight scenes than some movies that I ranked significantly higher than it. It's a shame that the entire storyline and world building are the cheapest, most generic that you can find.
Number 25.
Gladiator 2. Look, I'm saying this to you as someone who would have gladly given Best Movie of the Year that year to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon instead of Gladiator 2. I'm sorry, instead of Gladiator 1. Now that Gladiator 2 is here, I was like, it's fine. It's an entertaining film with some good acting and some decent action and whatnot. I need to go rewatch the first Gladiator and possibly 300 because there's a couple of moments where I was like, this film steal a video shot from 300? Also, CGI monkeys. We cannot escape the bad CGI this year. Number
24.
Bad Boys Ride or Die. Honestly, it was a fun film. Nice family story. It does have very Republican-y vibes. And what's interesting is that I noticed that Martin Lawrence and Will Smith's characters in this movie sort of fill out the weird, two versions of what a conservative guy looks like tropes. We have the religious family man, played by Martin Lawrence, and then we have the toxic fuckboy, toxic Miami fuckboy, played by Will Smith, who's giving off some red pill vibes. But yeah, it's fun. It's an entertaining film and a entertaining franchise. But it's also nothing special. Number
23.
Kraven the Hunter. I talked about this in my comic book movies of the year review. And yeah, I didn't hate Kraven the Hunter. I think Kraven the Hunter is a very fun, violent B movie. If you like yourself some B movie action where people get absolutely fucked up, then yeah, Kraven the Hunter is a good time. It's a shame that it failed so hard.
Oh, homies. This episode has been giving me a pain in the ass. Partly because I forgot a couple movies on it. And right here, we're doing The Crow. That's right. I forgot to put the fucking Crow on the original list. You can see it's at 22 now. It's a lot of people hated this movie. And you know what? I get it. I get it. I, however, watched all the previous Crow movies before I saw it, which resulted in me having a very lenient view towards it because it's so much better than like half the other Crow movies. It's not. It is probably honestly I ranked it second in the Crow movies, but it's probably third. It's Crow. The Crow has a lot of bad sequels, is what I'm saying. And honestly, I think we would hate this movie less if it didn't choose to do the absolutely blasphemous choice of, naming them Eric and Shelley and trying to pass it off as a reboot when it really should have just been allowed to be its own Crow story. Because, in Crow lore, that would be totally 100% acceptable. And you wasted everyone's time on the internet by naming them Eric and Shelley. Congratulations, you could have named them anything and people would have realized the movie's not that bad. But you pissed off the fan base. You could have named them anything. You could have named them anything.
Number 21, Hellboy the Crooked Man. Decent little Hellboy film. Not nearly as good as the Guillermo del Toro movies, but certainly a step above the previous reboot with David Harbour, which I didn't hate either. Although, admittedly, Hellboy the Crooked Man does have some of the worst CGI I saw all year. Thank goodness it's mostly practical effects. Number 20, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Honestly, these movies keep getting better. The Sonic the Hedgehog movies keep getting better. By that, I mean they just keep getting more Sonic the Hedgehog-y. And I'm okay with that. Make him more Sonic the Hedgehog-y. Get as Sonic the Hedgehog up in here as we can. The first movie's the weakest just because it's the least Sonic the Hedgehog in a friggin' Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Number 19, Kill. Now, technically, this movie is from 2023, but in America, it released in 2024. Kill is a martial arts revenge film from the country of India. And honestly, it's fucking brutal. Oh my God. It might have some of the most brutal fight scenes I saw all year. It's good. Like for violence and action, it's hard to get past Kill. The obvious movie that I would compare it to would be Monkey Man, except that Monkey Man I found to have a more compelling narrative. Kill is more of just an excuse for a Die Hard style shenanigans on a train. The movie Kill also answers the question, how many times can a person be stabbed before they die? The answer, a lot. Number 18, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. If you hadn't figured out, by the way, starting at like around 20 here, we're entering into the solid recommends area. Everything above here is at least someone is going to like it. Everything below here, you might like it. I also made a longer review of this. I found it entertaining. It feels more like a Ghostbusters movie than Afterlife. Afterlife is overrated. Number 17, Abigail. We had a lot of Dracula storytelling going on this year. Abigail was a good time. Fun, horror, comedy, action deal. It overall is a solid watch. Definitely recommend Abigail. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. It's just very entertaining. Number 16, Inside Out 2. You may be thinking to yourself, this seems ranked low, Ruben. To which I would respond with, I liked it, but I didn't like it that much. It still made my top 20. Inside Out 2 is fine. It does have a little bit of cringe humor, but it's about a cringe time in your life. So, I'm going to let that go. Overall, I wasn't as blown away by Inside Out 2 as I hoped I would be, but it was still a really good, well-made cartoon. Very good stuff. Number 15, Long Legs. Long Legs. I enjoyed Long Legs. I thought it was a good time. Of course, you got your Nick Cage and everything. Major problem with Long Legs is that I do feel like that the marketing was misleading. Now, the initial marketing was awesome. Very edgy, making you guess what the film was about. But then they started doing this thing with the marketing where they started comparing it to Silence of the Lambs. And I think that hurts the film. Comparing it to Silence of the Lambs because it is about a female FBI agent pursuing a some type of crazy serial killer. I mean, I see what the comparison is trying to say, but that's not really a good film to compare it to because it's not that kind of movie. In fact, Longlegs goes in a very different direction than Silence of the Lambs. And if you're looking for a Silence of the Lambs type vibe, you'd probably be disappointed by Longlegs. It's much weirder and darker than that. Number 14, Wicked. I have no prior connection to Wicked, but I did make a video about how Wicked is woke, and I think that's a good thing. I enjoyed Wicked. I think it's a top-notch, classy little musical. Good times for anyone who enjoys musicals. Like I said, I'm not heavily connected to the source material, either the play or the book, but this film was good enough to get into my top 15. Number 13, Transformers 1. Is it the best Transformers movie I've ever seen? Yes. Is that a low bar? Also, yes. Also, Megatron was wrong and is also a right-wing reactionary.
Jesus Christ, I forgot Venom. I'm not doing any more editing. I have recorded the Crow segment. I recorded 3 times, all with sound problems. And now, and I still don't know if the sound's going to be good. I'm recording it now. But I forgot fucking Venom. I forgot Venom the Last Dance. Venom the Last Dance is the real number 13. Push everything down. Push everything down a number. I'm not doing any more editing. This episode should have been out a week ago. It is a week late. I'm not doing any more editing. Venom is the Last Dance. It's the real number 13. Transformers 1 is 14. Knock everything down a number. I know I already went through the trouble of editing and changing the numbers because I fucked up the Crow, but those numbers are wrong too. And it's not 42 movies, it's 40 fucking 3. God damn it, I'm not editing this anymore. However, because of where we are, now is when I'm gonna choose to do the reveal. The reveal for my new look for 2025. Bam. You happy, internet? I shaved off the weak hairs.
Number 12, The Fall Guy. Actually disappointed this got pushed out of my top 10 by some other movies, but I think The Fall Guy is honestly a movie that came out this year that deserved to do better. It's a solid little rom-com, mystery, whodunit type thing with a lot of stunt work. It's an homage to the stuntmen, who deserve it. Fall Guy is a good time. Number 11, Civil War. Almost made my top 10. Civil War, I thought was really great, but I do understand that some people are going to be disappointed that this is a very non-political movie. Could you make the argument that Nick Offerman is clearly drawing inspiration from Donald Trump for his presidential portrayal? Sure. But overall, the film is set up to be non-political. And I feel like the movie does this for 2 reasons. One, it's trying to take place from the perspective of war journalists who are meant to be non-political. And also B, I think that the other message the movie is trying to say is, hey, no matter which side you're on, this would be fucking terrible to happen here. Please don't do this. For me, I liked Civil War, thought it worked, but I understand why it may not have appealed to some people. Number 10, this was a year of martial arts revenge. My number 10 is The Beekeeper. Yep, I put that Jason Statham movie up here in number 10. Yes, even above Kill. Even with its wacky, empty politics as talked about in my full-length review for Beekeeper, I still dug Beekeeper. I would totally watch another one. Number 9. Some people will be shocked at how low this is, but Deadpool and Wolverine. Almost everything from this point on in my mind were some of my favorite times watching movies this year. Well, almost. There's one movie on here that is on here a little bit more for artistic reasons than how much I actually enjoyed it. But I'll get into that when we get to it. I made a full-length video about Deadpool and Wolverine, and it's also in my top comic book movies. I don't have much more to say about it. It's just a lot of fun. But also another movie that uses the buddy cop formula. Are we seeing that come back? Number 8. Hold on to your panties, because number 8 is Megalopolis. That's right, Mega fucking Lopolis. I don't care that you hate this movie. I think it's fucking art. Number 8 on my thing. Did I technically give it a lower star grade than some of these other movies I'm going through? Yes. Yes, I did on Letterboxd. However, I ranked it higher because I think it's fucking art. Number 7, Alien Romulus. I really enjoyed Alien Romulus. I don't necessarily know if I have to say any more about it. Number 6, this movie, I didn't necessarily I was not blown away by this movie, and this movie I didn't enjoy it as much as some of these other movies that I've mentioned. However, on a certain level, I could not ignore the film's sheer creativity. And that's Hundreds of Beavers, a very fun live action cartoon of a film. Honestly, you should check it out. It's on Tubi right now for free. Now, technically, this movie did come out in 2022, but its major theatrical release was not until 2024, which is another reason I didn't rank it higher. It's the artistic and creative, the sheer creativity that takes place in this film is the reason it is ranked so high. I can't ignore that, even if it's sillier than my normal interests. Number 5, another suck it moment. It's Joker Folie à Deux. If you already watched my comic book movies, you already know how I feel about this movie. I also did a full-length review of it. Joker Folie à Deux is one of the most powerful films I saw in cinema this year. It was different than anything else. And I think the stuff it was trying to do was another case of this is fucking art. Now, you might think it did not succeed, and maybe you're right. But once again, I will choose bad art over good product any day. Number 4, Nosferatu. That's right, Nosferatu. I saw this on Christmas, tripping balls. It was a good time. It did not hit me as hard as The Northman did. Like, The Northman might be my favorite Robert Eggers movie, but Nosferatu is very good. Artistically, very nice. It very erotic, very Robert Eggery. I will say, as much as I would love to work with Robert Eggers, I cannot help but feel that, it's not really a Robert Eggers movie unless you can feel how cold and wet that shit is. Because, like a lot of Robert Eggers movies, Nosferatu's pretty cold and wet. Whether I'm talking about this movie, The Witch, The Lighthouse, or The Northman, very cold and wet. Still, definitely one of the most impressive films I saw this year. Number 3, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Yes, it fucking kicked ass. A lot of people tried to downplay this movie. It didn't do as well as the box office as the previous film, and that's a real shame. Because Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is honestly it's my jam. It is my jam. I've also got a full-length video of this one. Number 2, Dune Part 2. I made it number 2. And no, I didn't just do that to line up the 2s. But Dune Part 2, I dug it. I'm a big fan of the first Dune. I was a fan of this. I'm a big fan of the director who made it. Huge fan of this. I actually think Dune Part 2 it's more entertaining than the first movie. It is faster paced. It has more action and more adventure in it. Thumbs up for Dune 2. Real good. Good stuff. But my number 1 movie of 2024, Monkey Man. Monkey Man, I watched multiple times. Once it came to Peacock, I watched it another couple more times after I saw it in theaters. Monkey Man is my most favorite movie from 2024. Dev Patel fucking delivers. The action, the storytelling. Is the fighting as clean as Kill? I would argue that it's not as clean, but it is well done. And Monkey Man had, and I overall appreciate Monkey Man's story better. Monkey Man delivers where some other movies were too afraid to actually embrace their politics. Now, in fairness, Monkey Man is, of course, a criticism of the Indian government, specifically Hindu nationalism. And I think that's pretty cool, even though the film was banned in India because of that. And though they censored it to try and get it unbanned, still ended up getting banned. Monkey Man is my favorite movie of the year. It has heart, it has people getting karate to death, and it looks cool as hell most of the time. Also, really good trans representation. Monkey Man is awesome. Is it probably going to be too violent for some people? Yeah, it's pretty brutal. It doesn't, not as brutal as Kill, but its violence gets pretty nasty. All right, there we have it. Ranking all the major theatrical releases that I saw in 2024, all 41 movies, which is a lot of movies for me, but I know other people who are way more into reviewing movies, and they see like 100 movies, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, how are you doing that? But this is my ranking. Let me know what you thought. Please feel free to share your contradicting opinions in the comments. Also, what's your top 10 look like? How would you rank the movies you saw this year? Please like, comment, subscribe, and share, and all that jazz. Welcome to a new season of Ruben Uncut. I'm hoping to get wild with it. Thank you for tuning in. Feel free to email the show at rubenuncut@gmail.com. Also available on Spotify. Have a wonderful whatever, wherever, whoever you are. 2025, bitches!